we can have a powerful influence on the state of the various communities we belong to, in the neighbourhood, the workplace, the university, the church or other faith community, the sporting association, the book club or other community organisations. How we contribute to those miniatures of life in our own family, our own street, our own suburb, will help to determine the big picture. Of course, we all know how to act like neighbours when there's a crisis: floods, bushfires, storms, or horrific events like the carnage in Melbourne's Bourke Street less than 2 weeks ago. Of course, bystanders rushed to the aid of the injured. Of course, people instinctively help those in pain and distress. That's the kind of species we belong to. It's only newsworthy if we don't respond to people in pain and distress. So why does it so often take a crisis to remind us of what a neighbour is and what a neighbour does? Why does it so often take a crisis to remind us of our responsibility to the other members of the community, perhaps especially the elderly and the isolated in our community, whose need of help, perhaps in the form of nothing more than a bit of conversation, might not be as obvious as an accident victim's? You think people aren't as friendly as they once were? You think there's an avoidance of eye contact when you're walking along a street in a city like Sydney? Well, be more friendly. Start making eye contact. Do better than that. Start smiling and actually saying hello to people at the bus stop, in a lift, in the checkout queue, and especially in the street or the apartment where you live. You don't know your neighbours? Here's a really creative idea. Knock on their door and introduce yourself. Become the kind of person who is always alert to the possibility that someone needs your help or attention. Join a local book club or a community choir, participate in a community garden, play a team game with a local club, become a regular at your local cafe. In other words, engage. Be there. And, by the way, don't worry about how you're feeling about any of this. Don't worry about whether being kind to people is making you happy. That's not why you're doing it. If you're looking for something to worry about whether you gave someone your undivided attention when they needed it. Worry about whether you really listened or just pretended to. Worry about whether you apologised quickly enough if you wronged or offended someone. Worry about whether you forgave quickly and sincerely enough if someone wronged or offended you. Worry about whether you were there when someone, perhaps a total stranger, needed your encouragement and support. If enough of us start living as if this is the kind of society we want it to be, that is the kind of society it will become.